Welcome back. This is going to be the best of 2022 death metal episode. So I kind of changed things up. I initially wanted to do 10 albums and then like five honorable mentions, but there was just way too many kick-ass death metal albums. I couldn't keep it down to like those 15. So I just said, screw it. Let's just do 20. So I tried my best to keep it at 20, and I was able to kind of narrow it down. Took a while. Honestly, it took probably maybe I've been working on lists for like over a month now. So, and then this list in particular, like for like the past 2 weeks, maybe, I just kept adding things and then kind of rearranging them. But I finally got it down. So I'm going to go through 20 albums. I'm going to start kind of like the ones that I guess I can just say that they're ranked from like 1 to 20, and I'll start with 20. And so to start things off, this is Obscene, From Dead Horizon to Dead Horizon. I got the tape here. Obscene, they're kind of like a death metal, kind of like old school style death metal band from Indiana. I got into their first album that came out in 2020, The Inhabitable Dark. So I got the tape here. What I like about Obscene, they're like old school style, but I really dig the vocalist style. And he does sound almost exactly like the At the Gates vocalist, which, I love At the Gates, and I'm a big fan of At the Gates' vocalist, Tomas Lindberg. So yeah, this is fucking awesome old school style death metal with like At the Gates style vocals. So yeah, if you haven't heard them, check it out. Next, this is going to be, I guess, 19. This is Writhing Shadows, and I believe it's their first album, and this album is just called Writhing Shadows. They're like a death metal band from Alabama, and you could see the hype sticker, Poser Death Imminent. Yeah, these guys don't fuck around. This is like super like fast and aggressive, almost like Axiom 2 style. Reminds me of like Gatecreeper. Like if Gatecreeper like played fast all the time, that's kind of how Writhing Shadows sound like. So yeah, I got the disc here. I don't think they have any vinyl. I think it's just available on CD and tape, but it's an amazing release. Easily could have been top 10, but I, found that there was other albums I liked in the top 10, so I had to kind of push this one out. But definitely check out Writhing Shadows. And then next would be like 18. It's Immolation, their 11th album, Acts of God. So if you don't know Immolation, I don't know what to tell you. Immolation, they're New York death metal. They're one of those bands that just have their own style, their own like sound and a brand of death metal. It's pretty standard Immolation if you've like listened to Immolation. So don't expect any changes. It's just pretty standard Immolation, which, there's nothing wrong with that. Sorry, I'm just going to move this over here. I saw Immolation earlier this year. They were on the tour with Carcass and Creeping Death. I saw them in Albuquerque. Yeah, fucking amazing show. They played a lot of material from the new album, Acts of God. And I'll just play a quick clip, but yeah, definitely check out Immolation. This is going to be number 17, and it's Jungle Rot, Call to Arms. So Jungle Rot, another band whose got their own unique sound and identity. And I believe this is their 11th album. And Jungle Rot, they are kind of like a old school style death metal band from Wisconsin. I love this disc art. It looks like the inside of a dude's skull. It's freaking awesome. But yeah, Jungle Rot, they're kind of like along the lines of like Obituary. They don't play too fast. It's kind of like mid-tempo, very groovy. One thing I like about this album, it's so groovy. Like check out track 4. I think it's called let's see. Oh, Asymmetric Warfare. Yeah, like the way it starts, it's just like really like a rock beat, almost like AC/DC or ZZ Top. It's the whole album's full of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a fucking awesome album. I'll play a quick clip. And 16, this is Haunter, and the album title Discarnate Ails. So Haunter, this is the first time I kind of picked up on Haunter. I mean, one of the main reasons I checked it out is because they're on Profound Lore Records. So they're kind of like a progressive, like black and death metal band from I believe San Antonio, Texas. And yeah, this is the first time I heard them. It's really, really cool, very atmospheric. Reminds me a lot of Suffering Hour. Suffering Hour was like my favorite album of last year. And so, yeah, it kind of sounds like it, like the production, kind of like the guitar tone. I sometimes I almost think it's like Suffering Hour if I'm listening on my phone, like on a streaming app, and I don't know if the song pops up, and I always think like, oh, is this Suffering Hour? But it's actually like Haunter. Another thing I found out about this band is the drummer also plays drums for Pan American Native Front, so that's pretty sick. It's cool to have that. Or he plays in Pan American Native Front, which is a pretty sick like indigenous focus black metal band. Well, he plays in the live as a live musician for Pan American Native Front. But anyway, check out Haunter. Going to be number 15. I have the record here. It's Mortuous, and the title of the album is Upon Desolation. And if you're not familiar with Mortuous, they're like a death doom band, I think out of like San Jose, California. And if you're watching the video, here's the way the vinyl looks. It's got like a red and orange and yellow marble with black splatter. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Mortuous, death doom band. If you like bands like Autopsy or like Incantation, yeah, definitely check out Mortuous. They're a fun band, and the drummer of the band also plays in Necrot, which is pretty cool. I love Necrot. But I'll play some clip of Mortuous right now. And then number 14 on my list is Temple of Void, Summoning the Slayer. This was one of my most anticipated albums when this got released earlier this year, just because the last Temple of Void album that came out in 2020, about 2 years ago, the World That Was, I think was what it's called. Yeah, it was like one of my favorite albums of that year. And this album I'd say is like heavier than the 2020 album. because their last album like kind of like was almost like I don't know, there wasn't very much sections of death doom. There's like kind of like some more like upbeat like rock, I guess, tempo, but this is just like a pure death doom album. And here's the vinyl if anyone's watching. Pretty cool splatter. But yeah, the Temple of Void, they're death doom band from Detroit, Michigan, which is cool because you don't really hear too many bands coming out of Detroit. And so I really enjoyed that album, the Temple of Void, Summoning the Slayer. And I'll just play a quick clip here. All right, next is number 13. This is Tribal Gaze, The Nine Choirs. Tribal Gaze is their first full album. They're a death metal band from the Dallas, Texas area. And I was a big fan of their EP last year, the Godless Voyage. They actually like re-released this Godless Voyage EP with an extra song through the Maggot Stomp record label. And yeah, the Nine Choirs is also off of Maggot Stomp right here. So yeah, Tribal Gaze, they're fairly new. I think they just formed like in 2020. I talked with their founding member. His name's Quentin. He mentioned that they started like during the pandemic as just like a suffocation, like kind of like they were just like practicing like suffocation songs, but then I think they started writing songs like in the style of suffocation. So, and then that's kind of how Tribal Gaze kind of formed. But yeah, this full-length album, I'd say it has more like hardcore influences, you know, with the vocals, I think mainly. But yeah, if you love like, you know, suffocation style, mid-tempo, super heavy riffs with death metal, check them out. I got Bloodbath, Survival of the Sickest. And this is Bloodbath's sixth full album, but it's the third album with this vocalist, Nick Holmes. He's the vocalist of Paradise Lost. And I think this is probably my favorite album with Nick Holmes on it. The last two albums were pretty good, but I don't know. This one's just way like more faster, more aggressive compared to like the previous. And it's cool. They got some guest vocalists on this album. They got Barney Greenway from Napalm Death and Luke LeMay of Gorguts. And they have another guy. Let me see. I think it's listed in the booklet. Mark Groh. I'm not sure who he is, but it's a sick album. I've always had a kind of like a cool, like, you know, fixation on Bloodbath. Main reason because when I, you know, started school at in Tucson right after high school, I started like college at U of A, and you know, I was like super like, you know, introverted, and my only solace was, you know, going to the record store and checking out music. And one of the bands that I remember came out around that time was Bloodbath, and it was the Nightmares Made Flesh album. And yeah, if you don't know that album, it's like a fucking like modern day classic by now. But anyway, I've always like had a connection to like Bloodbath. You know, I've never seen them live. I think they only do like festivals in the US. I don't think they don't tour as much, but it'd be sick to see them tour. But anyway, check out Bloodbath. It's a sick album. Number 11 on my list is Venom Prison, and the name of the album is Erebos. So Venom Prison, I believe this is their third full-length album. Here, if you're watching the video, here's the album art. Pretty creepy stuff. And then the band is fronted by the female vocalist. Her name is Larissa. I forget her last name, but her I know like she's got a pretty cool style of vocals. Here's the vinyl if anyone's watching. Yellow vinyl. Yeah, Venom Prison. Like I said, it's their third album. They're from the UK. They're a English band. I've been following them for a while. I've seen them live a few times when I lived in the Phoenix area, and their earlier albums are kind of like more like brutal death metal, just super heavy, low, down tuned like death metal. And then on this album, they've actually, changed their style. Like, it's more like of melodic, like death metal. Kind of reminds me of like Arch Enemy, or Light the City, or there's the band. I just saw them with Gate Creeper last month. Dying Wish, yeah, they also remind me of Dying Wish. But yeah, this album incorporates some of that like melodic, more kind of like more catchy songwriting, which sounds awesome. It sounds amazing. But yeah, one thing I liked about Venom Prison, they're very political. If you look into their lyrics, they're political, and the vocalist, her name's Larissa Stuper. Okay, I wrote it down. But yeah, a lot of her lyrics are, a lot of it has to do with like female empowerment, which is pretty cool. And yeah, just check out one of the tracks. What was it? I think it's like track 8. The Gorgon Sisters. Yeah, that's a pretty brutal song if you look into the lyrics. But yeah, check it out. That was my list of 20 through 11. And so I'm going to go right into the top 10. So this is kind of like the best of the best. So I'm going to go ahead and start here. Let's see. And so my number 10 album is Molder, Engrossed in Decay. There's the record. Just take a look at this artwork, man. It's fucking gnarly. It's just like a dude like covered in like mucus and phlegm and pus. It's pretty gross. But with this record, color is fucking cool too. Like the vinyl color almost matches the album artwork, which is pretty amazing. But this Molder album, this is the first time I really heard them. I believe this is their second full-length album. And Molder, they're more of like a old school style death metal band. They have a lot of like, I feel like they have a lot of like punk influence. And the band they remind me most of is Autopsy. And what I like about the album too is it gets like kind of like lo-fi production, kind of like shitty production, but it's still cool. I think it fits that style or that aesthetic of like, like 80s, like old school death metal, kind of like, Autopsy and Death. But yeah, if you haven't heard Molder, check them out. And then number 9 on my list is Ripped to Shreds. Here's the record. And the title of the album is Jubian. So Ripped to Shreds, again, this is my first time listening to Ripped to Shreds. Here's the vinyl too. It's cool. It's a green vinyl with like a black center with like a splatter. So this is my first time hearing Ripped Shreds. So they're US death metal. It's fronted by this guy Andrew Lee, which I actually got to talk with him on an interview. It was pretty cool. It was cool to talk to him just because you don't hear a lot of like Chinese American death metal bands, and so with him, he's really proud of the fact that he's of an Asian background, and you could tell with the album artwork, and he's got like a Asian style Chinese artwork, and then there's like some Chinese scripts across the album. But the album itself, it's kind of it's Ikshim 2 guitar tone, similar to like Entomb, Dismember, Gatecreeper, but with Ripped to Shreds, it's more like catchy, more melodic, kind of like melodic death metal. So yeah, it's a sick album. Definitely check it out. Number 8, I got the CD here. It's Hath, and the name of the album, All That Was Promised. So this is my first time checking out Hath. I mean, I got to credit like Instagram and social media for finding out about Hath. There, I saw like people collecting, like records and CDs, and the album artwork kind of caught my eye. It's pretty cool, and so I went ahead and checked them out. And yeah, I was impressed. I don't hear too many bands that sound like them. I'd say the band that they remind me most of is like Immolation. They got those like kind of like slow, heavy, like hard hitting, like Immolation style riffs, but then there's like more emphasis on like the lead guitar and the guitar solos. Plus, they also incorporate like black metal influence, like just the tremolo style black metal guitar riffing. But yeah, I was really impressed. I went ahead and like sought out their first album, and their first album is called Of Rotten Ruin. So yeah, I was like really impressed by this. Definitely want to try to get the vinyl copy, but I mean it's holidays. I really don't want to like do any orders right at this point. But yeah, Hath, one of the surprises of this year. If you haven't heard them, check them out. Number 7 on my list is Chaotian. Another album, another band that I picked up on just through like social media. So yeah, if you're looking to find like new bands, just like start like following people who collect albums and records, CDs, tapes. That's pretty much how I find bands nowadays. I mean, I live in the middle, kind of like very rural in the middle of the Navajo reservation. So it's not like I go to shows and find bands that way. I find bands through like Instagram and people who collect music. So yeah, shout out to all those people who collect music. But this is Chaotian. I believe this is their first full album, and they are from Copenhagen, Denmark. And I mean, I'm not too savvy on like bands from Finland or Copenhagen, Denmark, or any of those like, I don't know, Northern European countries. Regarding death metal, I'm more of like I more follow like US bands, but yeah, it's a sick album. I'm just kind of going off of like my research. They're kind of influenced by other bands from Denmark, bands like Hyperdontia, Phrenolith. So if you dig those bands, you'll definitely dig Chaotian. I really like the bass and the guitar on that album. It's really really fun, really cool album. All right, next is Languish. So Languish, the title of the album, Feeding the Flames of Annihilation. I got the tape here. I've heard of Languish before. I think this is like their third full-length album. They're an Arizona band from Tucson, Arizona, and a lot of the members of the band are from different like bands projects of other bands throughout Arizona. And I believe the vocalist was used to play in Gatecreeper too. So I definitely wanted to support Languish, and I got to talk to their drummer and just kind of got to ask him about the album, and mainly just talked about the like bands and scene in Tucson, just because I lived there for so many years. Yeah, the drummer is Zach Hansen. Yeah, cool guy. Shout out to that dude for taking the time to talk with me. They definitely have like a grindcore aspect to their sound, and I don't know, I just thought it was a sick album. It kind of starts out like super fast, guns blazing, like death grind, and then kind of like on the second half towards the end of the album kind of slows down, and you kind of start getting some kind of like more catchy like death metal style guitar work. But pretty amazing, fucking awesome album. I'm definitely gonna try to get the album on a vinyl. Next, we're going into top 5 category, and number 5, I have Maul, and the name of the album is Seraphic Punishment. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I've been following Maul. I kind of just picked up on them, just following bands on like social media, and kind of reached out to the singer Garrett Alvarado. Cool guy, nice dude. He talked with me on a podcast interview, and yeah, I've just been looking forward to like checking out the Maul's first full length album. And yeah, I mean, just take a chance to admire that artwork. It's fucking amazing. And then the record, I got the first press. It's like a purple with like a blue splatter, like Maul. So they're death metal, but definitely kind of have a hardcore influence. Regarding like the more the music side, the songs definitely have like a like kind of like heavy breakdowns. The vocals on the album though is probably the most impressive part. I mean, just if you listen to it, like just the different ranges of the vocalist Garrett, it's almost inhuman just to hear him scream so fucking like low and then so high. Yeah, definitely reminds me of Trevor Sternad of Black Dahlia Murder. Just just the different ranges, and yeah, the music is cool too, very catchy. Just like hard hitting, like catchy death metal. So yeah, if you haven't heard Maul, check it out. Number 4. So Maul and Phobophilic, they're both from Fargo, North Dakota. So here's Phobophilic. The name of the album is Enveloping Absurdity. And so this is Phobophilic's kind of first full-length album. I have their, let's see. I have their first EP, Undimensioned Identities. This is a pretty sick EP demo. I really like their logo, their old logo. They changed their logo on this new album, which, you know, I'm more of a fan of their old logo. But yeah, they're kind of like more, I would say, more on the technical side. Oh, this is cool. The CD's autographed. But yeah, so Phobophilic, they're more, I'd say, more on the technical, more intricate style, death metal. Definitely remind me of bands like Blood Incantation, Gorguts, and then the Finnish band Demolich. Yeah, it's really impressive. I was looking forward to that full length, and they just toured they did a US national tour with like Undeath and 200 Stab Wounds, which, I mean, I live like too far out. They didn't have any shows in Albuquerque. I think they went to like Tucson and Phoenix, and then that was it. But yeah, I would have really loved to check out that tour. I did see them though with Gatecreeper last summer, and yeah, it was fucking amazing. I was like so freaking excited to see them live, and yeah, they fucking kill it. So yeah, check out Phobophilic. And then next, number 3 on my list of top 20 death metal albums is Artificial Brain. And I believe it's just a self-titled album, Artificial Brain. And then if you want to check out the record here, I got it's like a green, they call it like butterfly effect, green and blue vinyl color. So yeah, this is Artificial Brain's third full album. I've been a fan of Artificial Brain since their first album. If you haven't really heard too much of Artificial Brain, they started out I think as a side project of so they started out as like kind of like a side project from Revocation's guitarist, and I have their first album right here, the Labyrinth Constellation. It's fucking, hey man, this album is amazing. Yeah, I got this well, you know, when I first heard of them, because everyone knows Revocation, the guitarist Dan Gargiulo. So yeah, he Revocation's former guitarist started Artificial Brain in like the early 2010s, and I got this CD. I saw Revocation live, I think in like 2014 when Revocation played with Devil Driver in Whitechapel, and I talked to their guitarist, told him I was a big fan of Artificial Brain, and got their CD. This new Artificial Brain album, I'd say this, compared to their previous material, this is way more melodic, way more catchy, and a lot of like more emphasis on like building an atmosphere. I'd say that first Artificial Brain album, this Labyrinth Constellation, and then their second album, Infrared Horizon, I'd say these are way more dissonant, way more technical and progressive sounding death metal. But this new album really kind of takes that, but then kind of adds more like melody to the lead guitar. And the vocalist too, he's got such a unique style. His name's Will Smith, which is fucking awesome. So yeah, he's no longer in the band. He left the band after this new album came out. I'm not sure. I think he's in a band called Afterbirth, but yeah, really fucking amazing death metal vocalist. I easily could have been the best album of the year, but Yeah, there's two more I'm going to talk about, but if I haven't sold you enough on Artificial Brain, yeah, check them out. And then next, my number 2 favorite album, death metal album of the year is Wake. The title of the album, Thought Form Descent. I got the record right here. I got the band to sign the record when I saw them in Albuquerque. It's right here on the bottom. There's like some silver signatures. But yeah, Wake. This is their 6th full-length album, and I just picked up on Wake not too long ago. I want to say like in 2020 when their album Devouring Ruin came out, and yeah, they put out an EP I think called Confluence, also in 2020, and this is pretty amazing the direction that they took, because yeah, the Devouring Ruin kind of like straightforward like death grind with like some cool atmosphere, but this album they take that sound and add more of like a progressive black metal, almost like shoegaze. Like it kind of reminds me of like a cross between like Opeth and Death Heaven. Like Opeth, because the songs like just start out so intense, and then they kind of dial it down and play some like intricate like calm instrumental sections, and then the music kind of picks back up. And then I saw them live earlier this month in Albuquerque, and I got them to sign the record. It's fucking amazing. Just really impressive. Yeah, I can't get enough of that album. I hope they keep making music in that style, but I have a feeling, with each of their albums changing direction, they'll probably maybe change direction and make a new album, but that sounds completely different. But yeah, that's number 2, Wake, Thought Form Descent. And then number 1, this is this is an amazing album. This is Tzompantli, the first record from Tzompantli. I can't pronounce the name of the title, but it's right there. Yeah, this is really like probably a landmark. I feel like a landmark in like just extreme music, because this is probably like the first like death metal, death doom record with a focus on indigenous culture, indigenous history. Yeah, it's fucking amazing. I mean, like the band I kind of compare it to the most is Nile. Like if you've heard Nile, Nile, they incorporate like Egyptian instruments, Egyptian history, and they build quite a fucking amazing just visualization of their music. And that also, you get that also with this this album. I mean, you see the cover of the album, it's a skull rack, which Tzompantli is a skull rack. And then so with the imagery, you have like these Mayan Aztec ruins, and just like indigenous art all over this album. And I got a chance to talk with the mastermind behind this project, Brian Ortiz, and I think he definitely confirmed that that this is an album that is meant to kind of like share a history of the Central Americas, And yeah, just because the history is so brutal, like I'm not a historian on Central America or Aztec history, but yeah, just from what he was describing, just the some of the rituals of that time in history is pretty fucking brutal and makes some really good like death metal material. But yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing, just like similar to like the Black Braid album that came out. I think it just like really is a landmark in like extreme music that focuses on indigenous people. So yeah, amazing album. Yeah, definitely support Tzompantli and all the bands and projects that Brian Ortiz is a part of. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, thanks for checking these out. This was a pretty extensive list compared to the previous. Took a lot of time and energy just to, like gather this information and yeah, just to share it. I mean, this is just like my own like personal list. I mean, I'm a big fan of like best of lists, and if anyone has a list out there, yeah, definitely like share it and yeah, and tell everyone what you liked. And it's just cool. I like this music, but I also want to hear like other people's like take on what they enjoyed. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna try to do one more. I want to do one just talking about like just top 10 like across the board albums that I enjoyed of this past year. I mean, um not specific on the type of metal music, but just across the board. So I'm gonna try to work on that later on this week. But yeah, thanks for checking this out. Yeah.